You are listening to Veterans Action Report on KGRA Digital Broadcasting. I'm your host, Nick, coming to you live from St. Paul, Minnesota.
And I'm Andrew Canales, coming to you live from Evergreen, Colorado.
Every day, veterans are struggling with many issues spanning from homelessness to mental health crisis, often leading to 22 veterans a day taking their own lives. There are veterans all around the U.S. leading the fight to help guide our brothers and sisters to a better life. We will bring you stories from all around the country telling tales of veteran struggles and triumph. Every episode benefits veteran-run nonprofits Warriors Next Adventure, helping veterans fight PTSD through recreational therapy and new adventures. And Houses for Warriors, helping solve the homeless crisis, leading veterans to a better lifestyle. Good afternoon and welcome to Veterans Action Report. I'm your host, Nick, and we're broadcasting live on KGRA Digital Broadcasting. Thank you again, KGRA, for giving us this time slot. I like to at least let everybody know they give us a slot for free. They don't charge us anything, which is amazing. Thank you guys so much. This is a public service show, and it's free to anybody who subscribes to KGRA. Anybody can just go listen on KGRA as well. We also air live on Facebook and YouTube. And for anybody listening on the radio, if anytime during the show you guys hear something that you want to comment about, you can always text the number 612-467-9489. That is the Google Voice number. You will actually get me live during the show. I will likely answer. And if it's a good enough question and, it's something for our guest, what I'll do is I'll read it live on the air. So again, 612-467-9489. Just a little bit of info. Every episode benefits Warriors Next Adventure and Houses for Warriors. Both nonprofits are assisting veterans in multiple different areas. Houses for Warriors is a homeless veterans nonprofit. What they do is they have a group home over in Colorado and Denver. It's actually in Lakewood, I believe. But they can house up to like 6 or 7 veterans to get them off the streets, which is absolutely fantastic. They put them through a program and they actually teach them the skills to get them on their own, which is absolutely amazing. I've been there before a couple times, and Andrew's doing amazing things with those guys. Warriors Next Adventure, we have the race car build going on right now. For those who don't know, Warriors Next Adventure is a nonprofit. I do a 24/7 suicide hotline that I run myself. We've had 99 calls on the suicide hotline, and they're all still alive. So we're doing something right. What's up, Steven? How you doing? Me and Steven met last time I was over in Denver. So amongst other things that we do for Warriors Next Adventure, we have a bunch of different programs to bring out the camaraderie that veterans miss. Right now we're building a street stock race car, which is a dirt track race car. We have a Hornet, we have 2 street stocks, we have a pure stock, and we also have a sprint car. And veterans actually get to work on the cars and race them as well. The sprint car is off limits. That's my board member's car. It's like a $40,000 car, so nobody's touching that thing. But the Hornet is open. And then on top of that, we also have the street stock where vets can race that. We worked out a deal. Our home track is Ogilvie Raceway. It's up in Ogilvie, Minnesota. It's about an hour north of the cities. And we're actually doing 50-50 raffles at every single race that we go to at Ogilvie, which is amazing because we have a chance to raise like $2,000 to $3,000 a night, which pays for our race season single-handedly and some. We're also trying to buy the race car that we're using at the end of the season. So right now, Gary up in Malacca, he actually donated his race car to us. We're building it, and we're doing all the work and everything like that. We get to race it for the whole year, and then we have to sell it back to him for $1 at the end of the year. My goal is to buy that car to make it Warriors Next Adventure's car. He donates his shop, he donates his time, and he's been doing amazing things for us. Multiple different things going on. And Warriors Next Adventure actually teamed up with another nonprofit called Fight or Die, which is the episode we have on today. Evan Stratton he rode the ocean for Fight or Die from La Gomera, Spain to Antigua. It's a 3,000-mile row across the ocean called the Talisker Whiskey Atlantic Challenge. Evan was on the 2019-2020 team, and myself and 3 other Air Force Security Forces veterans are rowing this December. Again, I still don't know why I'm doing it, but it should be fun. I'm going to show you guys a quick video real quick just to get a little recap on what is actually going on. So if you're just listening on the radio, go back on the YouTube or Facebook later and watch this because it's going to be amazing. So here we go.
I know for a
I
fact
encourage
this
all of you to go
race
to
is a
YouTube and watch this
life-changing
video. It's amazing.
experience. Within the next year, we'll see at least 50% of this fleet will change their job, their career, where they live, what they do. They will take on new adventures, and that's the beauty of this race.
Looking forward to the extremes, the darkest nights, the biggest waves, the calmest waters. It's the best place you could be to just be with yourself.
I hope it will change where I'm going. I want to do something else, and I definitely want to do something that takes my body and my mind to extremes. So something else than punching numbers in an office. And I hope this can be a way towards that.
We have the biggest fleet ever within the Telescopic Atlantic Challenge. It's a very focused fleet, concentrated, well prepared. So that's very good to see as a race organizer. And they are ready to go December 12th.
Mate, we're feeling great. We had a bit of a mission to get over here from Australia, but now that we're here and we're sorted, we're feeling pumped.
We've been preparing for the challenge for about 1.5 years now.
You know, this is a thing that people can do, and less than 1,000 people have ever rode the Atlantic.
I don't have any background in the military, no background in this type of stuff.
This is something I want to.
All right, Evan, how's it going, man?
Oh, it's good, Nick. Thanks for having me on.
Beautiful stash on the intro there.
you have to show up right. You know, it's like the only American team. We had to make a strong impression coming.
There you go. I think this year there's like 3 American teams or something like that, which is amazing.
Yeah, it's growing, and that's like one of the big things that we've loved at Fight or Die, seeing not just, you know, what we do in the veteran community, but seeing the sport of ocean rowing grow in the US. It's really freaking cool.
Yeah, it's amazing. So Evan here is the president of Fight or Die. So I'm going to let Evan speak a little bit about himself. He rode from 2019 to 2020. And how many days did you guys do the rowing?
We did 50 days, 11 hours, and 35 minutes.
And you guys hold the record for that boat class, correct?
Yep. So we hold the spindrift record in a pure class boat, which we could definitely get into. And then also the fastest all-American fours team to row east to west in the.
I'm sorry, Evan, but we're going to beat that this year.
I hope you do, man. That's like, I'm stoked for it. I want you to. Hey, let's just keep it in Fight or Die.
Oh, dude, it'd be awesome. I can't wait. So we actually have the boat up in Wisconsin at actually my board member for Warriors Next Adventure. And both my ambassadors, we're all rowing for Fight or Die this year. It's going to be amazing. And bro, that boat it's amazing looking. I can't wait to get inside that thing and actually go on the ocean.
It's something else when you're like see pictures of it and you see it in the ocean, you know, have all that. But when you first, you know, set your feet on that boat and start getting used to it, I mean, it's a completely different thing, right? It's like both crazy how big it is and then how tiny it is for actually rowing the ocean. But you're going to get real familiar with that boat.
Well, I assume it's a pretty big boat when you're looking at it in a garage and everything like it, but I assume in the middle of the ocean that thing's pretty tiny.
Oh yeah, what's even funnier is that when you guys first get out and start training, you're gonna be sitting out of the water, and then when you first launch out of Lago Mare, like you're gonna be out in the marina there and you're gonna have everything loaded on, you're gonna see like it just sink down and you're like, oh man, this is gonna be different.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. The only time we've all rowed together was actually up in Buffalo. We at the Buffalo Rowing Association. Those guys have been amazing. They've been essentially coaching Chad, and Chad's kind of been teaching us how to do it. We've all spent some time on the ergs and everything like that, the Concept 2 rotors, and man, the training has just been interesting. So I want to talk about your row. How the hell does somebody decide, oh, I'm going to row across the ocean?
Man, let's like back up a little bit. Like, where did Fight or Die come from, right?
Yeah.
Rowing the ocean. What does that have to do with anything, right? And Fight or Die was the first group of 4 U.S. veterans to ever get in a boat and row across the ocean. And it started in 2017 with a few guys. And just like the story that so many of us veterans have, another friend took his own life too soon, and you know, another funeral, and they kind of came together and said, we got to do something that just says like, we're doing something, like we're thinking about this. We need to raise awareness, and what better way than to get in a boat and row across the Atlantic Ocean, right? It doesn't get much bigger than that. You know, more people summit Mount Everest than have ever rowed across an ocean. Like, I never even heard of it until I met these guys. Like, it wasn't even a blip on my radar.
Yeah, when I had Bryant on my podcast, on Warriors Next Adventure podcast, I'm like, you're insane. Why would anybody do
Right.
this? Now I'm doing it.
Yeah, you know
Thanks,
why?
Chad.
Yeah, it
Chad's
just gets in
listening
your
right now
brain,
too.
creeps in. Yeah, man, but and they did it right. Like they slapped together this team, everybody got behind them, and they're the first group of veterans to ever row across the ocean. And they said, "Hey, we got to do this again." So in 2019, I got tapped to do it. And let me even back up. So I met Bryant, who is the former president and founding member of Fight or Die, in 2018 when they were hosting their gala. And I had a buddy, a very good friend of mine, who knew Bryant. They were in the same industry together, working together. And he sponsored a table at the gala. And he's like, "Hey, Evan, you should come to this veteran thing. You know, my wife's going. Bring your wife. It's going to be awesome." I was like, "Okay, date night, sweet." No idea what it was. So we go, you know, we're eating dinner, and these guys get up there and they start talking about how they're going to row across the ocean. And I'm just like in my chair, leaned forward, like staring at it, like locked in. And at some point, like 10, 15 minutes later, I like look over to my wife and she just looks at me and she goes, "Don't even effing think about it." And I was like, "Yeah, all right. Like, you're right. Like, I mean, it's crazy. Like, here I am seeing these guys go do it. But man, who like, would I go to outer space? Sure. Would I climb Mount Everest? Why not? But that's like just not going to happen, right? You're not going to get that opportunity. Well, fast forward to 2019, and we're going out on a guy's golf trip and for a buddy's birthday, and get to Arizona, hop in the Uber at the airport, and then there's Bryant in the back seat. Haven't seen him since the gala, but you know, kind of followed them as they crossed the ocean. I was like, "Dude, what's going on? Like, how was it? Let's talk about it." And he's just going on about it. And I was like, "Man, we got to get you out there." And I was like, "Dude, yeah, like 2021, 2022, sure. Like, let's talk about it, you know?" Man, we go to check in the Airbnb, head out to the bar, we're having some drinks. Bryant, you know, leaves, and 10 minutes comes back, walks right up to me and he goes, "Hey, we just had a guy drop out. We need someone else. Are you in?" And I was like, "Yes." Like,
kind of on the spot.
Yeah, I was like, "Let me talk to my wife." Like, I had a 6-month-old baby. Like, I had, like, you know, a job. And so I was like, man, I wrestled with it
And
for a
what
few
was the
days.
time frame here? How long
So
before
this is
the
in
row was this?
all right, so this is in the very end of May in 2019. The row starts December 12th. And so this is like the end of May.
Wow.
Like, we're like 6 months away. And I was just like, man, there's no other opportunity. Like, this is once in a lifetime. I've got to do it. And, you know, talked to my wife. She said yes. I walked into my job. I was like, "Hey, I love being here, but there's other jobs. So if you're not going to let me go do this, like, I'm out, you know?" And they're luckily like very supportive. And that was like the first big thing for me, learning lesson out of all this. Like, I had every reason to say no. I was married. I only had 6 months to try and figure this out. I had a 6-month-old baby, my first child. It was during like the busiest time of the year for my work for me to take off. And then I had to take 3 months off to go do that. Like, everything said like no. And I was like, "No, I'm going to say yes." And that was huge for me. And it was crazy to watch then over those next 6 months to a year of how the world and the universe just like conspire to help you to make your dreams come true. If you just say yes. Like, and that was the biggest thing. It just takes a yes, and then everything else, like, there's a lot of unanswered questions, but man, they all got figured out.
You're never even gonna know, you know, these crazy experiences if you just say no to everything. You know, and Will on my team actually says all the time, like, "How do you say no to this?" You know, we actually asked a few people before Will, you know, unfortunately, but we had one guy just like, "No, you're crazy." Like, absolutely not. I mean, that's what I said to Chad at first. Chad calls me like just after I get off the podcast with Bryant. Chad goes, "Dude, we got to do this." I'm like, "No." And me and Will were actually planning to row the St. Croix River, which is about 155 miles, right? And Will's like, "Okay, we're talking about 155 miles. Like, this is bullshit. Like, we look like pussies now." Like, I'm like, "Well, let's get through the St. Croix first." And they're like, "Well, what about like the Mississippi?" So our goal was actually to row the Mississippi this year. And then the 22 team, you know, fell off, and we're just like, "All right, well, let's take it." You know,
let's do it, man. Well, that's it.
Yeah,
if you get hit with a huge thing, like a massive once in a lifetime opportunity, you say no to that. What else are you saying no to? And little things,
exactly.
You know, and like the day to day or just month to month, or, you know, what else do you say no? And that was like a big thing for me that I really like ground into me after saying yes to it and signing up. That yeah, there's a lot of challenges, but like just by saying yes, like let's take that leap of faith, man, everything worked out. We got, you know, it wasn't without trial and without error and without work, but
Sure.
man, like people, if you saying yes is the first step, and that's something I talk a lot about with people now. But so we said yes, kind of started working out. I get in this group text with the 3 other guys, John Fannin, Luke Christensen, Carl Christensen and Luke Holton. Never met them, don't know who they are, had never served with them. I'm in Denver, Colorado. Carl's in Wyoming. Luke's in Alaska, and John's down in Texas. We don't even live in the same state.
And you guys have never met each other.
Never met each other. I don't know a thing about this row. And we're like just slapping it together, trying to like figure it out as we go. You know, Bryant and some of the other guys from the previous team are helping out and pushing things along, but we didn't know anything, man. Show up in Mobile, Alabama in August, and for 3 weeks in August, trained, learned how to, I'd never rowed before in my life. No one on the team has any rowing experience. Luckily, Luke and Carl have quite a bit of like sea experience. Luke's a whale tour captain up in Alaska. Carl was a naval submarine officer. So, you know, like some good sea knowledge, at least navigation, but none of us had rowed. We'd never been on the boat. We had to do everything for the race in 3 weeks. The vast majority of teams that sign up for this race prepare for 18 months to 2 years to get to the start line.
Sure.
We did it in less than 6 months. And if you really think about it, we did it in the space of a month. We did everything we needed to do, got as much experience as we could, packed the boat up, shipped it off, and then just showed up in La Gomera in December and took off in December and finished December 12th, 2019, finished January 31st, 2020.
Crazy, man. That's crazy.
Yep.
So this guy here, Jason Walken, what's up, Jason? He's actually in the UK, and he's a veteran as well. He's a UK veteran. He's actually going to be in La Gomera. He's rowing with him, and awesome. I think he's a double. I'm not sure, but I'm so excited to meet Jason too. We might be slamming Jason, a few before we go together.
Oh yeah, man. The community in La Gomera is just so awesome. Like the whole ocean rowing community and the Talisker whiskey, it's just this really awesome community, and man, lifelong friends for sure.
Yeah. Oh, I guess he's going on a 4. All right. Sorry, Jason. We're going to beat you. No, I'm actually going to have Jason on as well. I'm also trying to get Ocean Warrior on as well.
Last man.
I've started to become like obsessed with the ocean rowing. You know, our team watched everybody finish. You know, like every chance we got. And when we were together, there was a couple people finishing. Will tried to wake me up at like 6 a.m., but we had been up all night drinking. So I'm like, I'll watch the replay.
I mean, it's huge. It builds this community. It's so funny. They call them dot watchers, right? So they're every boat, it gets fixed with a little GPS tracker, and you download the app, right? And so all the teams are on there, and there's these it's just little dots on a map as they slowly move across the water, and it builds this crazy community. It's hilarious. Like when I was out there, what's funny about it is when you're out there and you're on the water, you don't know where you are in relation to everybody else. So when you're calling back home on the satellite phone and stuff, like at first it's funny because everybody's like, yeah, go you, like, how's it going? How are you feeling? Like, da-da-da-da. And then like, you know, a few weeks in, like you call home and they're like, why aren't you guys going a little faster? Like if you push hard, you'll catch so-and-so. And you're like, shut up. Like, you know,
go fuck yourself
out here. Like, I don't want to hear that, you know? Then like, sometimes you just like got to tell them like, hey, where you at? And then next time you like answer the phone, you're like, don't tell me anything about anyone. I don't want to hear it. Like, don't want to think about this.
Yeah. We're actually trying to decide like how much, like, what do we want to know? And how much are we going to call home? You know, like my goal is to call like maybe once a week. And even more than that for sure. Like I was actually talking to my girlfriend about it. It's like, you know, I want to focus on what I'm doing. You know, I'd love to reach out to you guys, but same with deployments. When you're deployed, calling home is sometimes counterproductive, you know,
for sure.
Because like, so what was it like with you when you were rowing and you called home? How did that affect you?
Yeah, I mean, so it's you're right, where it's like it's a balance and you've got to really be able to check in with yourself. But I'll tell you, it's having been deployed to Iraq and, you know, been in combat and kind of lived that life, there's nothing else like this at all. It's uncomparable. There's nothing you can do on this planet that even scratches the surface or comes close to what it's like to row in the ocean. I would compare that maybe the closest thing that's comparable is living on the space station for any amount of time. And I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
When you
We
go out
got
on
a
a
we got a
road,
text on our line here. They said you guys are absolutely nuts. I commend you.
hey, you could do it too.
Yeah, why not?
Anybody can get in and do it. So what's interesting about the ocean road, and you think back to like anything you've done, whether it's being on deployment, whether if you're not a veteran and been on deployment, have had a really tough week or couple weeks at work with a huge project, whether you bit off like a very challenging backpacking trip, or you're in a grueling workout, or a marathon, whatever it is, you more or less have an end in sight. When
Yeah.
you're on that workout, it's like X amount of reps or this many minutes. When you're out on like a challenging backpack trip, it's so many miles or so many days. Like you have that end in sight, and it doesn't take away from how hard it is,
Yeah.
but there's finality to it. When you're out on the ocean, you don't know. You're at the
Yeah.
complete mercy of the weather, which is going to change over time. You're a tiny little speck of nothing in the ocean floating along. You have no sail, you have no motor. If you don't row the boat, you don't go. So, all right, what we say is if you ain't rowing, you ain't going.
Yeah.
And you don't know when you're going to finish. Could it be in 40 days? Could it be in 50, 60, up to 80? All those things happen, and that's when people finish within that time frame. And so you don't know, and that's what makes it so difficult, is that when you're out there, you're just faced with being in yourself and within your feelings and your emotions, where you can't just grit your teeth and bear it and just push through
Yeah.
a little bit longer, because there's no finality, there's no measure of I just have to get to here. It's I have to put out, and I have to put out and perform every day, all day, 12 hours a day. And if I stop, I push myself back. So you go through these massive slumps and these like super deep depressions, and then you have these incredible highs, and then you have an F ton of days where you're just bored out of your mind and you're just rowing. Like you just get this like whole spectrum, and that's what makes it so unique and so challenging, that it's ultimately a mental and emotional game.
Did you listen to a lot of like audiobooks and stuff like that while you were rowing?
We did, and I'll tell you why. This sucked. All right, so you get on, like, music's huge, right? Like everybody loves music, especially when you're doing something like this, man. Like ocean rowing's boring, like it really is. So you row for 2 hours, you rest for 2 hours, and you rotate like that 24 hours a day. 2 hours on, 2 hours off, 2 hours on, 2 hours off. And it's a desert. It's a water desert, but it's a desert. There ain't nothing out there. You see like when the dolphins come by and whales, there's cool things, but like by and large, it's pretty boring, just day in and day out. So
Yeah.
I had Spotify Premium.
Nice.
Luke had Pandora Premium. Carl had Amazon Music, and John had Apple Music. So we're covered. Like we got all the bases. Like we're good to go. Download like all this music, everything. Put our phones on, airplane mode, and like we head out there. Like 2 weeks in, all of a sudden my Spotify stops working. Get this little notification.
Oh, no.
It's like, hey, connect to Wi-Fi or service to verify your subscription. Well, there ain't no service out there, Spotify. So I lost all of my music except like 6 songs.
Oh no.
And everyone was just giving me like a hard time. The next
I bet
day,
you hated those songs by the time you're done, huh?
Oh, dude, like, well, J. Cole, Middle Child's like my jam now. It's like ingrained in my soul. Luke's Pandora the next day goes out. The next day after that, Carl's Amazon goes out. John's the only one left, and he's like giving us crap for a few days, like 3 days, 3-4 days. But then finally his Apple like music goes out.
Yeah.
So we lost all of our music like 2 weeks in, and it took us 50 days to finish. So luckily I had hundreds of podcasts on my phone.
Mm-hmm.
So we just had this Eco X Gear speaker, which shout out Eco X Gear. Your speakers are awesome, and if you want to sponsor us, you should. And we would just like plug into.
I'll send it to their email right now.
Yeah, dude, it was like a speaker on deck. I still have it, man. This thing still works. Works. Sat on deck for 50 days in the ocean waves, in the water, and we would just listen to like podcasts. You would talk.
I got one of these iJoy booms. They're waterproof. These things are amazing. So,
dude, take that. Who knows? This Eco X Gear like took a beating. I was almost positive this thing was gonna like crap out at some point, but man, it held on. That's what's crazy.
Will actually has a Zune that we're bringing with. You remember the Zune?
Microsoft, like
that old school
iPod 2000 even came out.
Yeah, like 2003, 2004. I think he said he's got a lot of music. He's like somewhere around like 8,000 songs. Will, if you're listening, how many songs do you have in your Zune?
That's
And then
so
I
weird.
actually have a lot on my phone. This phone is about to crap out on me, but I'm gonna
Yeah.
keep it and literally just store music on it because I got like 120 gigs available. So I'm just
Yeah.
gonna download all my songs onto this phone and then get a new one.
Download them, man. You
Yeah.
gotta like, you can't do this premium services. The streaming will crap out on you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've been
I need a
meaning to like,
fine mix of weird stuff too.
yeah, I've been meaning to write a very strongly worded letter to Spotify over that. I feel a
Yeah.
type of way. I'm still a subscriber though, so
Will said he's got 80 gigs of music on the Zune.
I don't even know how you have that thing to work. Like, I don't understand people like you, Will. Like, I'm not responsible enough to keep an electronic working for that long.
I think I've had like 30 iPad or iPhones or no, what are they called?
Dude.
The iPads? No, what were they called?
iPhones. Oh,
no,
iPod.
not the iPhone. iPod. There you go. I don't even know what they're called anymore. I had like 6 of them, and I've lost all of them in Iraq and Afghanistan. Some Iraqis running around with all my iPads or iPods.
Guaranteed. Yeah, technically acquired, more like.
There you go. So okay, so how shortly after your row, how did it come around with you being involved with Fight or Die, as the president? How did that all happen?
Yeah. I mean, I think it goes to just like the cycle and like the life cycle of what it is to be a veteran and to move forward like in our life, and kind of my personal story and why I even signed up for the row. So I was injured in an ambush in Iraq in 2009, almost lost my life. My best friend and gunner was killed in that same attack. Watched him die, and I was 19 years old when that happened, right? So I got out of the Marines, and when I'm 22 years old, like, you don't even have the emotional capacity to like register trauma like that, like emotionally. Your emotional depth at like 19, especially as a Marine, is like this big. So as you get a little older, get out of the military, like start to deal with those issues, right? And so I went through a lot of those like PTSD, depression, anxiety, transition issues that so many veterans face. And in 2013, I had a suicide attempt. Like, I was that guy, man, and it wasn't from a lack of trying. It was from trying so hard and not getting anywhere that I was like, man, this sucks.
I'm glad you suck at killing yourself too.
Dude, me too, dude. Absolutely. Like, and I think like with so many guys, what it is just like it's not with a lack of trying, right? Like, people are like, how could you like ever do that? And I was like, well, I was trying, right? And I think so many guys are, hey, I've tried, I've put in this effort, and feel like they hit this wall, which that's kind of where I was at. Anyway, suck at killing myself. Didn't happen. Wonderful support system. And I went in and, put in the work and got better. Like, I went to therapy. I was on medicine for a little while. I tried multiple different types of therapy. I put in this work to get to a good place with a great support system. And then when this row came up, that was like the big spark for me. And so when I took over Fight or Die, something that I always say, and what we believe in at Fight or Die is kind of like our guiding principle, is that go row your personal ocean and then do something badass like row an actual ocean. And so this opportunity came up to me, and that's what I was faced with. I was like, man, I rowed my ocean. I got to this place. When I started going to therapy after my suicide attempt, I sat in the doctor's office and I looked right at her and I was like, hey, like, I'm gonna put in the effort here. I'm gonna show up to my appointments. I'm gonna do what I needed to do to try and get better. But if I'm nowhere, like in 2 years, if I'm nowhere, like, I am gonna kill myself because I'll just know it's not worth it. I didn't even realize 2 years later, like, how good life could be. I thought I was gonna get to a point of just like, hey, life's like, it's bearable. I'm surviving. I'm living, have a job, doing the things you're supposed to do. I'm thriving. I didn't realize like how great, like, not only just getting through that, how much joy and love and like fulfillment I could get out of life. And I wanted to, like, it was kind of like to prove it to myself when I was going to go row the actual ocean. I was like, well, here's my shot. Like, I proved it to myself that I can row my own personal ocean, face my demons. And now I'm going to leave the safe harbor again. And I'm going to go out and try and inspire other veterans to get off the couch, to seize their lives, to like make that first step and to row their personal oceans. And then so when I actually rowed an actual ocean and set a world record in the process, I was like, I can't leave this behind. We've got to see other veterans do it. And I think that's where I'm at in my life and kind of journey, where working with you all and helping you get prepared for this ocean run. I think I've told it to you guys several times on the phone and on our calls that it's almost more fulfilling and exciting to see you all succeed and move forward and get ready to experience this and be a part of it from kind of, an encouragement, mentoring, and coaching standpoint than it was even to row the ocean myself. And, I think that's what we need in the veteran community, is that once you have these experiences and once you have gone through some of the shit, that's incumbent on us that have gone through it to help others and give them a hand up and lift up, which is exactly what you're doing with Warriors Next Adventure and housing a veteran and all the things that you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's coming from somebody else who runs an organization that helps vets that's focused on mental health. The amazing part is, I had my attempt. Everybody in the show knows my deal. Like, I had my suicide attempt in 2015 and got my shit together. It took a couple of years, but eventually I built this program, the 6 Principles, the book that I'm writing. My goal is to get that book done before I leave so people can read it while I'm around. And I could just get all kinds of bad reviews when I get back.
Hey, maybe wait till you do this life-changing experience to put the final chapter in, to be honest.
Oh, that's another book. So
yeah. All right. I see where you're going. Okay.
Yeah. So my goal is to get this book out before we go. It's called Warrior's Path to Inner Peace. And it's using my 6 principles. And, once I finally got to the point to where I was okay, I started to help other people, and it was a fluke. I didn't do it on purpose. I wasn't seeking out to go help other people. I was just trying to get my shit together. And then I had a veteran who was struggling, and I started to help him out with the same thing that I did for myself. And then a Warriors Next Adventure was born. And then the best thing in the world, man, is, we have a similar saying is like, what's the mountain in front of you? Because we take veterans mountain climbing. And which, by the way, next time I'm in Colorado, we have to at least get together if you're not going to climb with us.
We got a few mountains for sure. Yeah.
Oh,
we
dabble. Yeah. we've only done 2. We've also done the Manitou Incline. We still haven't done Pikes Peak. But anyway, so the best thing in the world is standing up on top of that mountain and watching veterans' faces when they actually get to take that step on the top of the Rockies. Like, this is the best thing in the world, is seeing other people overcome something, and then you get to be a facilitator of that, and then watching them change and watching them inspire and actually take that and start to inspire other veterans. Like you said, once we have major accomplishments, it is our duty to take what we've learned and help other people excel, especially when it comes to mental health.
Yeah. Well, and that's what we're trying to do, right? I almost even I even just said it, but I never set out to be I want to be an inspiration. To me, that's it's not what I meant to do, right? I, like you, man, I wanted to get in a good place. And then I got this opportunity to row, and I was like, well, this was for me. I put in the work. So this is for me to really do something cool and really challenge myself. And it was I almost viewed it as a reward. Hey, you've been through some hard shit, but prove to yourself once and for all that you can even row an ocean, and you'll just it'll never be questioned. And just by virtue of that, though, like you said, I started having conversations with others, and I realized other people needed help, and just having those conversations, and you kind of fall into it. And that's what Fight or Die is all about. Is there's so many great organizations that do clinical services and can get therapy appointments and do things for veterans, but at Fight or Die, what we believe in is raising the bar and changing the narrative of what it means to be a veteran. You don't have to have some incredible story. I'm not an extraordinary person. I don't have unique gifts and things that other people don't have. I've just said yes. I just said yes to the opportunity. And what we want other veterans to start doing is saying yes to the opportunities before them, to row their personal oceans, to step out of the safe harbor and go explore what it means to be themselves. And by virtue of their service as veterans and who they are naturally, they'll begin to build communities of people around them that they can help and support, and they'll be the leaders in their own personal communities. And that's just what it means to be a veteran. The veteran's not the bearded up, disgruntled guy sitting in the gutter who has PTSD and can't get a job. That's such a false narrative.
I hate the whole DV thing. Was funny, but it's that's not the image that I want to put off. That's why I started Warriors Next Adventure. I'm we don't have to be like that.
And we're not like that, more than that, right? And so that's what we're trying to do, is establish veterans as community leaders that are resilient, strong people that can rest on their laurels of the things they've been through and use that to help other people, and not even just veterans. Veterans should be a leader in their communities, of all communities. And that's what we're trying to do at Fight or Die.
100%. I mean, that's why I started Invoke Change, because I decided that what I'm doing for Warriors Next Adventure, the amount of civilians that reach out to me, dude, everything you say really helps. I'm all right, well, why don't I just start doing it? Started a company. I needed a job, so why not do a job in the same thing I'm already doing?
Why not?
you know, I mean, and that's essentially what we're trying to do at Warriors Next Venture and Invoke Change and Fight or Die. Like it's all veteran run stuff. We need to step up and be leaders, like you said. You know, helping people learn how to be leaders as well, because that's something that the military is good at. We're good at creating leaders, and that's something that, you know, Fight or Die, like Chad, you know, hats off to Chad because he's done everything for this team. Yeah, he set up the funding. He personally got West Her, you know, to donate $80,000 for us to do this row.
Yeah.
Chad did that. You know, Chad set up the team. Chad's the one that essentially bugged me for 2 weeks until I finally said yes. And then, you know, we built the team with Tommy and Will, and, you know, Will has been a major help, you know, using his garage as our storage or his workshop. And then, you know, at the same time, Tommy's got a massive fundraiser set up for August 12th over in Omaha. Like, we have like a Black Hawk flyover and everything. Like, these guys are killing it, right? This is my big contribution, is getting you guys out. Like, we have massive following on this radio show, and so that's why I had everybody on. And I just talked to Bryant. He's going to be on in like 3 weeks, I think. I think April 20th. So I mean, it's my way of getting you guys out in front of people, but also just I still don't know why I'm doing this. You know, people keep asking me like, why are you doing this? I'm like, I don't see a reason why not to. That's literally my only answer. Why wouldn't I do this? You know, I keep saying that my slogan is explore everything. Why would I not do this? You know?
Yeah, man. I'm a huge believer in curiosity and humility will take you 90% of the way in life. And rowing the ocean got my interest peaked for sure. But, you know, your contribution, you don't owe the row anything, right? Like, it's something that you're going to go out and build on those experiences. But your contribution is where you sit, the people you talk to day to day, your community, your friends, your family, you know, that's what we want, right? Like, the row is just a vehicle to draw attention and to get people engaged in our community and to build veteran ambassadors, right? Like, here's the pedestal, this is the platform. But the goal is to have veterans out front and center in their lives and their communities, right? Like, we don't want veterans to cling to being, you know, their 4-year story or their 8-year story of the time they were in service. You know, even if you serve for 20 years, that's just a blip in your life. All right, you get out and you're 48 years old. Now what? You know, you got a lot of life.
And that's,
you got a lot of life to live.
The military that's our past life. You know, when you get out of the military, that's not you anymore. That's not your life anymore, right? It's okay to be proud of that. I'm proud of what I did, sure.
Absolutely.
But there's nothing I'm more proud of than Warriors Next Adventure. You know, there's nothing more proud of than me being a part of Fight or Die, or me being a part of We Defy Foundation, or, you know, Houses for Warriors, or Homes for Veterans. There's all these different organizations that I'm a part of, you know, or at least, you know, I interact with them. And what better than to actually make a name for yourself after the military, right? And that's one of the first things I ask veterans when they come to me, especially if they're suicidal. You know, I ask them, like, you know, what are you doing now, right? What have you done recently that you're proud of, right? Not the military, right? Not that there's anything wrong with talking about that, but what have you done recently to actually improve the world around you or help improve somebody close to you? You know?
Yeah. It's so funny. I was talking about this dynamic with Ryan on Vet with a Mic podcast the other week. And it's like, when you're in and you put on that uniform every day and you got your rank right there and your medals and ribbons right here and your patches and your whatever, and it's just out there front and center for the world. I don't even need to know your freaking name, but I know where you've been, what you've done, and how important you are just by looking at you. Everyone hates that. It's hilarious when you're on active duty, how all veterans seem to want to, like, all they want to do is like be individuals. And it's like taboo, like, no, put that like individual back inside, be a part of the, like, you know, gets beaten down. But like, everybody's just trying to be like, I'm not the uniform, like, I'm a person, you know, like, dude, the whole time. Yet when they transition, all they want to do is talk about, well, the uniform, and this is who, like, it never defines you while you're in. So why does it define you when you get out, right? Like, the uniform has nothing to do with it. And like, what it is like, take that individuality, mesh it with those good things you did learn in the military, and that's who you get to be in your new space, and in your new area, in your new community, and build off that, right? Like, take the good things and move on. You know, veterans always talk about like the soft skills and how, you know, being adaptable. Well, being a rigid like person in the military, don't adapt that to like your civilian life. Like take the
Yeah.
other stuff, like take the good things, like take that resiliency attitude,
Yeah, like we said earlier, you don't have to be that disgruntled asshole. That's not us. It doesn't have to be us. That's why the
No.
majority of what we talk about with Warriors Next Adventure is mindfulness, right? We're like, oh, mindfulness, bro. There's a joke going around, people calling me the veteran Buddha, which is kind of funny because I always tell people I can never be an actual Buddhist because I swear too much and I like meat. But I take a lot from it with awareness and acceptance and mindfulness. And a lot of people should at least go down that road, right? And think about it, right? Think about how are their actions affecting everything around them and how can we change? Because every single person I've ever met, myself included, everybody can improve. Everyone, right? And if you're not
100%.
on a path of self-improvement, then, what's the point of living?
Dude, absolutely. I mean, like life's not done till it's over, like you can't stop living it. And I think that's like what like makes the row so cool, man. Like what now? Like that's my big question. Like, what am I gonna do now? Gonna get you guys across the ocean? And who knows, man? Like what more? I'm 32 years old. What more is there left in life? Like what else can I explore?
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be massive, crazy challenges. Like you learn to love where you're at and how to explore around you within reach. And then, like for a few crazy ones like us, like get out and actually row in the ocean. But, I think it's like I said, if you're saying no to the once in a lifetime opportunity of rowing the ocean, really critically think about like, what else are you saying no to before you ever gave it a shot?
Yeah.
It's harder to step out your front door and make a change than it is to go row the ocean. It's easy to go out and do some big sweeping gesture. It's easy to go row an ocean. It really is. I just have to stop doing this stuff, focus on that, get in the boat and row. Like I said, I'm not an extraordinary person with extraordinary gifts. Anybody can get in a boat and row an ocean, but it's when you come back and it's what you do day to day that ultimately matters, right? Why do people go out and volunteer in Africa and donate money to, NGOs? Like, not like those are bad things, but man, you don't think your neighbor needs help? Like, when's the last time you walked over to your elderly neighbor's house and blew the leaves out of their gutter or shoveled their sidewalk? Like, it's those little things that are right in front of us. And if we're saying no to the big things and we put that in our mind that they're unattainable, it's certainly the little things that get to the big things that we're also saying no to.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the phrase "we can't all be rock stars" is ingrained in my fucking head because when it was told to me, I just think, why not?
Yeah.
Why not? And anybody, I just had this conversation with a veteran today, and the whole phrase "we can't all be rock stars," like, why not? Right? It doesn't necessarily mean an actual rock star. No, I have no musical talent. However, when it comes to what I do in life, I'd like to consider myself a rock star in life. Look at all the things that I do, and I'm not bragging, but I run 2 radio shows. I run 3 companies. I work for like 6 different nonprofit organizations in some form or fashion. I'm raising, 4 kids with my girlfriend. It's like, I'm busy, and it's like, I think about that "we can't all be rock stars" all the time. Like when I'm feeling lazy, I'm like, God damn it. I'm a rock star. God damn it. Get up and go. And so I force myself to get up and go. It's like you said, what are you saying no to? Right. Are you sitting in bed all day when you should be out doing something? Or like, are you just sitting at home when you can be out with a buddy of yours who might need your friend, just a conversation,
For sure.
And it's like, what do you do on a day to day? And that's why I always tell people, like, you need to have some sort of hobby that brings you some sort of fitness. You need a hobby that brings you peace. And you also need a hobby that makes the world a better place. Those are the 3 things that I tell people. You need to have something going on. And for me, I personally, this nonprofit that I run it's everything. It's ingrained in my life. My family knows, right? I run a 24/7 suicide hotline. I'm up at 3 a.m. quite a bit. And I've left dinners and everybody is super supportive of what I do because they've seen the impact. They've seen me cry multiple times because, talking to certain vets, this, I constantly go back to my suicide attempt. Every time I have a suicide call, it's almost like I make myself depressed and I get myself back to that point where I was suicidal. And I think about what did I need then, what could have helped me? And it just makes it so easy for me, right? But the problem is me coming back, right? So it's the old theory of, the young soldier in a hole leadership walks by and throws him a ladder, says, "Here, get out," but they don't realize that he can't climb out until a younger sergeant walks by and says, "Hey, are you okay?" He says, "No." He jumps inside the hole with him until he's able to get out. He helps him climb out. When the guy ends up getting out, he looks down in the hole and says to the sergeant, "Why did you jump down there?" He says, "Because I know how to get out." And getting out is fairly easy. However, doing these kind of things takes an emotional toll. And that's where my family really comes in, because my family knows, like, when it's been a rough day or I've been on the phone for 3 fucking hours and I get off the phone and I'm very quiet. That's when they know it's like, they need to come close. And having a good support system is amazing. And I wouldn't be able to do that without my family,
For sure. Well, that's what like is so cool about the row, man. Like, I think I very much had that similar attitude, and veterans are good at kind of like going deep, just, putting their like chin down, taking it on the chin, gritting their teeth and bearing it for a while. And, trying to bounce out of it. I mean, you're going to choose the row and the row is going to beat you down more than anything you've done. Like it really does. Like it is going to test your resiliency and your ability to like stay focused more than it's ever has before. And it's gonna break you, but then you're gonna still be out there and there's gonna be another end. So you're gonna have to build back up. And that's what happens over and over on the row is like you get broken down, man. Like there were so many times like I got into the cabin at the end of the 2-hour shift and I like am laying there in the back and you don't like really get rest. Like you get 2 hours in the cabin, but in that 2 hours, you've got to eat, you've got to clean yourself. Maybe there's some boat maintenance and things that got to get done. So let's just say it takes 30 minutes, like maximum, you're going to get an hour and a half. Well, you're also rowing a boat that's 5 layers of carbon fiber. So it's, this thick and there's 20-foot waves crashing you. So it sounds like a Mack truck is rear-ending you right by your head. There's many times you wake up mid-air flying through the air right before you smack the wall, so you don't even get real good rest. So you get times that you get in the cabin, you're just like, I can't do this, man. Like I cannot do one more shift. Like I just like, and I'm sitting there like running through your head. Like, how am I going to tell the guys? Like, what am I going to say? Like, hey, we need to pause and take a break. But if I don't row, then like that's making the whole team suffer. And you're just sitting there like in this massive conflict in a deep, dark place. And then close your eyes because you're exhausted, fall asleep for the little time you can. And then you're back on deck 2 hours later and you have the best shift of your life. Like you just crushing it. You're riding the waves. You just can't shut up talking with your partner. Like you just have this like high and you're like, and that's in 4 hours.
Yeah.
And you're like, what the fuck? Like what is happening to me? Like that, like it's going to change you. Yeah. And it just teaches you stuff about yourself that it's unattainable anywhere else. Like, you in the video, like I said, when you're out on the water, there's no social media, there's no TV, there's no email, there's no work, there's no family obligations, there's nothing but you, yourself, those oars in the water. And if you ain't rowing, you ain't going. And you go and test yourself like that for 50 days straight, like, man, it teaches you something that like you can't learn anywhere else.
Well, I'm pretty sure I know how I'm going to act. I don't enjoy most things that I do. I don't like mountain climbing. It sucks. It's terrible. You got to climb for like 6 hours. You get to the top and you're tired as hell. I have a hole in my heart and my lungs suck. I'm still, I'll find out in about
good to know
2
now.
months. What's that?
It's like good to know now. All right.
Well, I mean, it's fine. I've climbed mountains and stuff. We're good to go. And then I'm still kind of in limbo right now about the whole lump in my lung. So I don't know if I have lung cancer. I don't know if it's just fungus or whatever. I'll find out in about a month. But then at the same time, like everything that I do, I don't love it. I don't lifting weights. I like it, but I don't love it. But I do it. Right. Running is miserable, but I do it. Training jiu-jitsu 3 days a week, working out 4 days a week. Rowing for 2 hours, climbing mountains, doing all these things. It sounds fun, but it's exhausting. It's so tiring. But it's like the way I think about it is if I don't do these things, there's going to be a veteran that misses out. And so a lot of people try to tell me like, well, it's not your responsibility. It is. It is my responsibility because, for me, if I'm not being the best version of myself, then I'm lying to myself and I'm lying to all my veterans. If I get to that point where I just give up, when literally my whole nonprofit is about pushing through and making it to the next side. And, you know, it's always about, it's not what you did yesterday that matters. It's what you do today and what you do tomorrow.
Yeah.
And if I give up, my word is nothing. So I can't. Right.
For sure.
I mean, if I didn't have this nonprofit, I probably would never leave my house.
Yeah, dude. I mean, and that's like a huge thing, right? Like, it's not what you did yesterday. It's about like tomorrow, the next day, right? Like, man, one of my favorite quotes, and I haven't thought about it in forever. And it was a Supreme Court justice in like the 1920s said it, and, you know, said one of the greatest tragedies in life is that most men die with most of the music left inside of them, that as they're preparing to let it out, before they know it, time's run out. And that's huge, right? Like, you don't have to be some like Gymshark. You don't have to go row an ocean. You don't have to go to outer space. You don't have to do these like massive things. Once again, like, what music are you making in your home with your family, with your kids? Like, what music do you make at work? What are you holding back inside of you that the world needs, or that you need to let out, especially as veterans, right? Like, veterans have so much, you know, how many, like, I'm going to tell you this right now. I'm sure you've had this happen to you all the time. You talk to a Vietnam vet, family member, or even a Vietnam vet themselves, and, like, you know, that vet pulls you to the side and they just talk to you and like go into like these details and tell you some crazy stuff. And you're like, damn, and you just listen to them. And then, you know, another family member pulls you beside after, and like, he's never talked to anybody in the entire family ever. Just like, that was the first time. What did he say?
Yeah, it's happened so many times.
Right. Yeah. And like, or they realize, you know, after their veteran family member passes on, they find this journal that, you know, they've kept and they've never shared those stories. And, you know, and that's what we're trying to do ultimately is like veterans is like, man, like they're holding up this music inside of them because they feel like it doesn't fit into, you know, society, that they have to find a new purpose, that whatever they're going to do is not going to be as great as when they're in the service. And hey, man, maybe that is true. Maybe some of that's true in some situations and things, but like, the world needs the music of veterans, and veterans have to learn how to let it out wherever they are and do it.
We can all be rock stars, man.
Exactly.
Well, we only get a minute or two here left. Why don't you tell everybody how they can help out, how they can volunteer, and where they can go to find more information?
Yeah, well, check us out on social media. It's Fight or Die, and it's OAR, you know, puns. So Fight or Die, we're on, we've got a couple Facebook groups. We're on Instagram. You can go to usvetrow.org if you wish to donate and follow along. We'll be doing some fundraisers and things, and Nick and the team will be posting quite a bit here as they get trained and start to build up, headed to the row. And then we'll have
working on some videos too.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. So follow along for sure. Things are we're getting to that point where a lot of the prep work is done, and we're about ready to kick off the real fun stuff.
Yeah, I'm excited. Well, hey, don't go anywhere. I'm going to drop you off, and we'll chat after the show's over, okay?
All right, sounds good, man.
All right, thanks, Evan. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for listening to Veterans Action Report on KGRA Digital Broadcasting. Again, thank you for giving us this time slot, KGRA. It's, you know, the 10-year birthday is coming up very soon, and I'm more than happy. Also, Jason, I'm going to have you on the show very soon. This guy is actually over in the UK. He's a UK veteran, and he's rowing the same time as us. So I'll see you over in Spain, brother. Check out warriorsnextadventure.com. You can volunteer, and you can also donate on that webpage. We need help building the race car. We also need help at the races. We're going to be doing 50-50 raffles. We'll be selling raffle tickets, and we get 50% of the pot. Whoever wins gets the other half of the pot. So we have a chance to raise about $1,500 every single race, which would be absolutely amazing. Also, go check out Houses for Warriors. You can go over to their website, and you can also volunteer, donate there. They have all kinds of different events that they do to help them raise funds. Andrew's doing amazing things over in Colorado. Also, go check out usvetrow.org to go check out and help out Fight or Die. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll be back on Wednesday at 3 Central.
Perfect.